chill. Another quick 5-minute makeup look. Girl, I'm gonna become a beauty artist. I'm just kidding, I'm not. I threw this together in 5 minutes because I was like, you know what? I really wanna make an effort for this video. We love Halloween. And I was like, what am I gonna do though? I don't have fangs. And then I had this brainwave. I was like, just draw them on. I had white face paint. Just draw them on your mouth. Job done. 5-minute vampire tutorial. Just paint some white onto your teeth. It's just as effective. Well, I think so anyway. So, happy Halloween. It's a week till Halloween and I am so excited. I just love Halloween so much. I'm just so excited. I love it. I love Halloween. So far, I've read one book from my spooky TBR and I am already on my second one. I'm currently reading Frankenstein. So I've decided, like, for this week, fingers crossed I actually stick to this, I'm gonna maybe film some kind of like spooky videos, some Halloween themed videos, and also book related. I'm currently in the middle of reading Frankenstein. I'm not doing a makeup tutorial when I'm done with that one, let me tell you. That's a bit, that's beyond my pay grade. This was easy. I don't think I could quite achieve a Frankenstein look. But anyway, that aside, today we're gonna be talking about Dracula. Let me just kick off by saying I really did not know the story of Dracula. Like, I did and I didn't. I obviously knew the whole thing of, like, he's a vampire, Transylvania. I knew about him, like, washing up on the shores of Whitby. I knew about that. I didn't know any of the other characters. I didn't know, like, who told the story. I didn't know if the story really centered on Dracula as a character or what the kind of thing was. So I had absolutely no idea going into this, and I was very surprised. I was surprised, to say the least. I was very surprised when I was actually reading this. The first couple of chapters are told from Jonathan's perspective. Jonathan, what's his name, Harker? And, well, it's from his diary, which I'll get into the diary in a minute. But the first few chapters I fell in love with. I was immediately hooked on this story. It sounded so dark. The character Dracula just really, I was excited by him. I loved him. Well, loved is a strong word, but I kind of hated him. But I was like, oh my god, yes, this is so exciting. Then things kind of end. I should probably just point out and say, like, I'm not going to completely spoil the story, but I mean, to kind of talk about my thoughts on this, there might be a few spoilers, so watch this at your own risk. Most people probably have seen, like, some sort of adaptation of it, or you've maybe read the book or whatever. I mean, I hadn't seen any sort of retelling of Dracula at all, I don't even think. No, I haven't. I did love the very first few chapters with Jonathan and just getting to meet the Count and being in his castle, and I was really worried for Jonathan, and I grew to like Jonathan quite quickly. I was like, oh my god, is something going to happen to him? Oh my god, what's going to happen to is he going to make it out of here alive? I did like the idea of a diary to begin with when it was Jonathan. I did quite like the diary. However, moving on, the idea of diaries and letters is the whole premise of this book, is how the story is being told to you. I do find that takes away a bit of the suspense because it's all past tense. Nothing's like in the present really. It's always like, I'm currently writing this on the train. Here's what happened last night. And it was like, ugh. I just feel like the suspense isn't there when it's being told in past tense and it's all diary entries. I mean, diary entries can be as spooky, I'm sure, but I just didn't find it as suspenseful because of that. But I did in the beginning with Jonathan's chapters. For some reason I found it a lot more suspenseful, and then the way it ended I was like, oh my god, is Jonathan going to be okay? Then we move on to letters between Jonathan's fiancée Mina and her friend Lucy, which are great. I warmed to those characters quite quickly. Then it kind of moved on and Lucy got her blood drank from a vampire, which I'm actually still a little bit confused with how that worked. He bit her, he drank her blood, and she got ill, and then she started to turn, basically, or she was starting to die, and then she became like undead. That's a spoiler. Well, I mean, it said it on the back of the book for me, so it wasn't really a spoiler, but it was. And then we get introduced to all these characters, and to be perfectly honest, I actually lost track of who was who in the very beginning. I actually had to realize I was reading when it was Dr. Stewart's, is it Stewart? What's his name? Dr. Stewart. Is it Dr. Stewart? C-words. Oh my god, it's C-words? Dr. C-words? Is it pronounced C-word? I was reading it as Dr. Stewart. Oh my god. Wow. Is it C-word? C-word. C-words. Whatever, the doctor guy. When we were getting his chapters, because they didn't tell us his first name, or it was just kind of like Dr. C-word. C-word? That's gonna be an issue, this video, that's gonna be an issue. I thought I was reading chapters from Arthur. I thought Arthur was the Doctor, but Arthur was the Lord. Then there was the American, Quincy Morris. Lucy had like 3 suitors who all asked her for her hand in marriage in the same day. There was the Doctor guy, who we get told a lot from his perspective, from his diaries. Then there was Arthur, Lord Arthur. He was a lord, yeah, his father died, he was a lord. And then there was the American, who I don't even really, I think I was just sleepwalking through the start of this book, I swear. The American, Quincy Morris. Okay, yeah. Throughout the book, you get like, you had Jonathan's diary in the beginning, then you had Mina's diary, and Mina's letters with Lucy, and then you had a bit of Lucy's diary, and then you had Lucy's letters. Then there was Dr. Seward's diary as well, and he was like working in a mental asylum, and I found those chapters quite exciting, but I realised in the very beginning, I had Arthur and the Doctor mixed up, and I thought they were the same person. And I had to go back and reread stuff because I was like, oh my god, because they met each other, and I was like, wait a minute, I thought this was Arthur. I'm dumb. I'm honestly dumb. Then we get the character of Dr. Van Helsing? Not doctor, he's a professor. Professor Van Helsing, a Dutchman. And he obviously already knows about vampires and stuff, which is great. He knew what to do with Lucy, and he had suspicions. So he I mean, he didn't actually save her life, but he did okay. He did his best. And he was quite knowledgeable on the fact of vampires and stuff. So that was great. To begin with, all our characters are kind of spread out, but then they all kind of come together and they all realise, like through Jonathan's entries, that they find out that Jonathan had been to Count Dracula's castle and their vampires were the same vampire, and it was great. We love it when like people come together and they team up to take down this being, this supernatural being, the Count. I was very disappointed to find that Count Dracula wasn't in this book as much as I thought he would be. Like, the man was he's not a man anymore, he's a vampire. The guy was hardly in it, like really. They talked about him a lot, and they mentioned in passing like, oh, so that mist was him, and that wolf was him. I didn't know vampires could turn into wolves. Where did that come from? He could turn into wolves? He could turn into mist? I was like, oh my, what? So I thought the wolves were just like his friends. He had control of, which I still don't understand why he had control over wolves. And why is it that like in Twilight the wolves and vampires hate each other? Why did I have to bring up Twilight? Why did I have to bring it up? What was I talking about? I've already lost my train of thought. I mentioned Twilight and I lost it. I lost my train of thought. The Count, he wasn't in it. He just wasn't here. Where was he? He was doing all this stuff, and obviously he can't move around during the day, so he sleeps in a coffin, which I didn't realise. I'm talking about this like they're real. They might be real. But I didn't realise when the whole thing with like vampires, they don't go out during the day, they don't go out in like sunlight. I thought maybe they just like hung about their houses, you know, just caught about the house. But in actual fact, they sleep in their coffins and they sleep during the day and they're kind of like in it. But then their eyes are open. That freaked me out by the fact that their eyes were open while they sleep in their coffins. Like, at least shut your eyes, man. At least. Why did that bother me? I don't know, but it did. This video's already getting into a ramble, but I just felt like I was disappointed that Count Dracula wasn't in this for as much as I thought he was going to be. Also as well, the main character of Jonathan, well, I'm calling him a main character, he's not really, there's multiple main characters. How the hell did he get out of the castle? Because going by what we hear Dracula saying to his little female friends, it sounds like after he's done with Jonathan, he's gonna let them, I'm gonna say eat him, that they're not cannibals, but like drink his blood and stuff, so I'm assuming he was gonna die. And when he's in the castle, when he scales like the wall and he goes into that little room where Dracula sleeps and that, and his final entry in the diary just made it seem as if like he was trapped, and he was saying like, oh Mina, my final thoughts of you, and I was like, oh my god, Jonathan, no, I liked you. But then he ends up at a hospital. Mina gets a letter to say that he's in hospital and he's plagued with like bad memories and stuff like that, and it's almost like he's kind of not erased it from his mind, but like he doesn't want to look in his diary because he doesn't want to know what actually happened to him, because he's just, I think he probably just doesn't believe it, and it's, yeah. How did he get there? Was I not paying attention? Did he say? Because I don't remember him saying how he got from the castle, Dracula's castle, to the hospital where Mina was with him and they got married, and I was like, how did You're okay? So you're okay. I thought you were gonna die, but you're okay. Alright, Jonathan, okay, I'll take it. I did kind of feel like a lot of times with this book, just everything, sometimes things progress quite slowly and then things are happening quite quickly. I don't know. I gave this book, wrong way around. I gave this book 4 stars because I feel like it's well written. I was excited to read it, and I found the characters exciting, well developed. The storytelling was great. I don't mind a diary entry told story, I just wish that, you know, it was a little bit more suspenseful. I think I went into this with like high expectations, and I didn't really get what I thought I was gonna get. I just feel like I wanted more Dracula. I just wanted more Dracula. And the ending, let's not even talk about the ending. I'll end up spoiling it. Let's just talk about it. Let's talk about the ending. This video, this is why I should make notes. This is just a rambling review. Everything just kept happening. And then Dracula was living next to the asylum, and that one character, the nutty guy, the patient who was like eating flies and eating spiders and eating birds. Was it because of the count that he was going crazy? I didn't get that, because one minute he was talking logically as if he's a sane man, and then the next minute he's like eating flies and stuff and he's rambling. I must have just been like glancing over this book, I swear. Why was I not taking all this in? I quite like that card. I didn't like him. He was eating animals, no. But I feel like it was interesting. My favorite part was actually reading the log of the sea captain. You know, the guy that like, they find him dead at the wheel. Dead at the wheel? Is it a wheel? What's it called? Helm? Dead at the helm? Dead at the helm, yes. I actually really liked that part the best. I mean, as well as Jonathan's first chapters, because they were the best. Nothing could top that. But I actually really liked reading the captain's log when he's like dead at the helm. This ship's, it's a Russian ship I think, like runs aground at Whitby, and everyone's kind of like, oh my god, what's happening? What's happened to the crew? And they're like reading his notes or his log that he kept. And I was like, oh my god, that was the most exciting part for me. I really enjoyed that. Where was I? I don't even remember. But I definitely felt like I found the captain's log very exciting. Reading it, it gave me chills. I was like, oh, they're getting like picked off one by one, and it was great. I really liked that. I found that more exciting and thrilling than I did more so like the rest of the book. A lot of the book was them like tracking Dracula, and like this vampire, travelled from Transylvania to the UK, to London. Why he decided to go there, I don't know. It's obvious he was already planning on doing it, because that's why Jonathan ends up going to his castle to kind of sign documents or whatever it is for his new properties in London. He comes to London, he ends up in Whitby. Where is Whitby? I don't remember. But then it all ends up being, he ends up biting Lucy. Lucy ends up coming and dead. And then he ends up getting Mina. And it's like, oh, that's a spoiler. Oops. And then obviously the crew, we've got Jonathan and Mina. Then we have Dr. Seward. I can't believe I thought it was Dr. Stewart. How did I read that as Stewart the whole novel? How did I do that? We have Dr. Stewart. I've done it again. Dr. Seward. The Professor Van Helsing, Arthur, and Quincy. Which I didn't understand why the Professor... Lucy died, okay? Lucy was dead. And there was children being bitten by something, or children being abducted by some woman and all that kind of stuff, and the Professor realised that it was Lucy, undead. She was coming out of her grave and going after these kids. But the kids weren't dying. How come the kids were okay? They were bit by somebody that was undead, but how come they didn't then end up with the same fate as Lucy? I don't know. I don't know these things. I honestly, I don't know. Then they decided to kill Lucy, or yeah, no, kill her again. He contacted Arthur and Quincy, her two ex-lovers. They weren't even really lovers, they just asked her to marry them, and she said no, but they were kind of present when she died. Oh no, Dr. Seward was the other. Dr. Seward had his proposal rejected, so did Quincy, but Arthur, she accepted. She was going to marry him, but she didn't. She died. Why did the Professor have them come down to the crypt and be like, look, I'm gonna show you that your ex-lover is actually, she's dead, but she's also undead. She's come to life at night. And it's like, what? If I was any of those men, I'd have been like, what kind of fuckery is this? What? And then he has them kill her. I don't know if it's to give them closure, but at the end of the day, they just thought she was dead. They just thought she died of some sort of illness. I was like, that's crazy. But anyway, so now they're completely on board to take down this monster, the vampire. They're going for the master vampire. Is it the master vampire? Isn't that from Supernatural? They're going after the Count, and it's like, okay, and by this point, our boy, I gotta stop calling him our boy, our vampire, the title character of this story, has buggered off trying to get back to his old castle, and I'm just like, that's it? Like, that's the story? He came over here, and for whatever reason, he surely had a plan on what he was going to do once he was here, but he ended up biting the wrong girl who happened to have been proposed, or happened to reject a proposal by a guy who knew about vampires and knew what to do with them, and now they're all coming after you. So now you're having to go back to where you came from. That's the story. Okay, they're basically tracking him, trying to figure out his movements. Mina, who has been bit by the vampire, or the Professor Van Helsing, hypnotizes her, and she can sort of like see what he sees when he's sleeping during the day. When he's in his coffin, sound asleep, and the Professor hypnotizes Mina. Mina can, like, I don't know if she sees what he sees, but definitely she hears, and she'll say about like, there's water lapping, I'm floating, whatever. And it's like, how did she suddenly know she could do this? Because she just suddenly wakes up one day and she's like, Jonathan, fetch Professor Van Helsing, please. And then when he comes, and she's like, I want you to hypnotize me. And he just does it, no questions asked. And I'm just kind of like, what is going on here on this day? So then our merry band of friends ventures off after him, and they kind of separate. They committed the first act that you should never do in any situation, which is they split up. But it didn't really matter because they were fine. But they all kind of split up. Once they got to Transylvania, Professor Van Helsing and Mina headed for the Count's castle, which I was like, I think not. I'm not going there. Oh, I don't know who teamed up with who after that. Two went one way, two went another, and they were chasing after his coffin, basically. Professor Van Helsing and Mina encountered those same three women that Jonathan encountered, but the professor like sprinkled whatever into a circle, like holy water or something, and they couldn't cross it. And then it's day, and they're able to go down to, I'm spoiling the book. Oh my god. I said I wasn't going to spoil it.
I'm not going to completely spoil the story.
I'm just gonna say this right here, right now. This is a spoiler for the very end of the novel, but it has to be said. It has to be said. Because it's then day, and our vampires are sleeping, or comatose, whatever it is they do during the day. They're able to kill 3 women, which is great. That's nice. Then, is it getting near? It's getting like near night, but it's still day. And the next thing, this like group of people come with the Count in his coffin on like a little cart. The Professor and Mina are there, and then the other 4 are chasing behind them, and I'm like, oh my god, here we go, the final showdown. And it was like, oh, I don't know about you, but I've found lately when I've been reading classic fiction, I'm very slow when it comes to reading them, so I don't read them as much, or I'll start them and I'll never get around to finishing them because I just don't find them as enticing as fiction nowadays. Sorry. But I definitely find that when it comes to like the ending, it's not like maybe novels these days where it's like some great showdown and all that, or that lasts a few pages. It's always over quite quickly, and it was a little bit disappointing that they stopped these men that had the Count's coffin. There was supposed to be a little bit of a scuffle, I think. Yeah, somebody died. So one of our characters died, and I was just a bit like, okay, whatever, I don't care. I don't really know him well enough to care about him. I'm not going to say who it was. I'll save you at least a little bit of a thrill when you read the book if you haven't already. But when the character died, I was just a bit like, okay, I'm not supposed to be sad by this because I didn't know this character well enough to care about them. I just don't care. Sorry about it. I'm sorry, but I just don't care. Yeah, it's still daytime, so the Count is sound asleep in his coffin, or at least he's in a coma, like he's like a vegetable basically. So you can guess what happened next. I won't tell you, but you can guess what happened next. And then the novel ended, and I was a little bit like, that's Dracula? Where was he? He was not present for 75% of that novel. He was mentioned in passing. They saw him. Anytime they tried to catch him, he would just be like, what? Gone. I was like, oh, they named the novel Dracula, and he's barely even in it. I was disappointed. I was. But I'm only kind of talking about what I didn't like about this book, and to be honest, I did actually enjoy it more than it sounds like I did. I think it just wasn't what I was expecting. I'm finding it the same with Frankenstein, that it's not what I expected. I have an idea in my head of how I think the novel goes, even though I know nothing about them, but probably just from all the retellings and everything that I've not actually seen properly, like proper movies, but I've definitely seen like silly little skits and that, and I always thought that I sort of knew the story, but I guess I didn't. And it's like, oh, right, so that was Dracula, and to be perfectly honest, I didn't hate it. I didn't love it, but I still gave it 4 stars because I felt like it was still a well done story, and I was excited to see how it ended, and then it ended, and I was a bit like, catch me in my coffin, like, ugh. Honestly. But I digress. It was still a pretty good book, and I am looking forward to the discussion with my book club at the end of this month when we will be talking about Dracula, and I am I'm curious to see what everyone else thinks of it, because I was reading reviews on Goodreads and so many people are just gushing over this book and saying how great it is, and I'm just like, yeah, it's good, but it's not spectacular. I wouldn't put it on a pedestal and say this is one of the greatest classic horrors ever written. The character of Dracula is, because it's been immortalised in so many different adaptations, and it definitely paved the way for vampire stories. But I just can't help but feel like I didn't really care enough about the other characters for this story to centre around them so much. I did like them, and obviously I was kind of worried for Mina. I thought she was going to become undead the same way that Lucy did, and I did feel kind of sad when Lucy did die. However, I just wasn't expecting the book to be kind of centred around them so much, so it definitely did kind of, it caught me unawares, and I was a little bit like, okay, I will take it. So, is that everything? This is such a ramble. This is a ramble of a video, as it always is when I try to do book reviews. But I'm curious to know anybody else's thoughts on this book. Like, how much did you love it? Did you hate it? Did you tolerate it? Did you think it was okay? I mean, I definitely thought it was more than okay. It was a good book, and I think maybe more the excitement of reading it influenced my review more so than the actual book itself. But I feel like it aged well. Did it? I hope it did. It's a good book, and you know, not too spooky. On the spooky scale, I would probably give this, I'm gonna give this a 2.5 out of 5, because our man Jonathan, I was scared for him at one point, because I thought something was gonna happen to him in the beginning, and I loved his opening chapters, and I really loved the captain's log from the ship. That to me was pretty good. That had me spooked a little, or not so much, like I wasn't really like scared by it, but I thought it was good. I thought it was really good. I'm not a massive fan of diary entries, and I kind of wish he was there a little bit more. But you know what? I don't mind. I don't mind. I'm currently reading Frankenstein. I am halfway into it. It's not too long, and then I still have all these books to read by next Saturday. I really don't think I'm gonna get The Woman in White done, but I don't mind so much that one. But I'm hoping to read these ones. I have Classic Tales of Horror by Edgar Allan Poe, The Turn of the Screw, another nice thin one, and also Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde and Other Strange Tales. So hopefully I'll get them done. This will probably be my only themed makeup look in correspondence with the book. I ain't about to do a Frankenstein look. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. So thank you so much for watching this video. It maybe is a little bit all over the place. Wow, I'm gonna enjoy editing this. But thank you so much for watching, and I shall see you in my next video, whatever that may be. Halloween is in 1 week, and I'm so excited. Yay! Goodbye.